Are you ready for a revolutionary RPG with a plot so epic, with a villain so menacing? Whoops, sorry, I was reviewing the wrong game. This game is neither of those things. Crimson Gem Saga is a traditional RPG, cliché story, and a completely turn-based battle system. In this game there is a lot of must collect this object in Dungeon A to move on with the story. You have to escape from jail, and find a special medicine for a sick townsperson. This game is wrapped in clichés and Nintendo nostalgia. Does it work? Well, that depends on your expectations. You start out as a young man named Killian. He's graduated second in his class and feels like he's always having to overcompensate for it. Along his journey of trying to find his way in life, he meets a generic cast of characters. Thief wielding 2 daggers? Check. Pessimistic mage? Check. Bare-handed monk type guy? Check. Large guy wielding a big weapon? Check. What turns into an innocent quest to retrieve an item for someone ends up on a journey to collect stones around the world that has the potential to unleash evil. Check. The game's plot is definitely cliché and nothing to brag about. The game instead focuses on the cute banter between the characters and the NPCs in the game. For instance, one of the towns there will be 2 NPCs, Romeo and Juliet, fighting over the irony of their names. Killian will have the urge to ding-dong-dash a random house in the field. It's quirky little humorous things like this that do add a nice touch to the theme of the game, which is a lighthearted, not taking itself too seriously.
Request from the Order of Light.
The Order of Light?
According to their intel, a wicked stone has been discovered in the Dead Man's Spire.
When the game does attempt to take itself seriously, the outcome is laughable lines like, "I'll send you to hell," and "damn it." The battles are completely turn-based where you can see which turn is next. The sprites and animation to the game are quite well done. There are plenty of skills to help keep you engaged. I found the challenge level of the game to be right on par to where it should be. New areas consist of tougher monsters, bosses can be exhausting if you're not leveled correctly. The game allows you to customize your characters at a reasonable pace. After every battle, you get skill points. The skill points all go into a pool that your characters have to share. You'll have a tree of skills where once you put enough points into it, you get that skill. Along with getting skills, you can acquire items in the game which improve the level of those skills or boost stats on your equipment. Every skill in the tree is hidden by default. You'll have to put enough points in the unknown skill to identify it. Then, once you've identified it, you have the option of putting more skill points to acquire it, or move on further down the tree. Basically, unless you've played through the game at least once or you're using a walkthrough on the internet, you're blindly putting points into an unknown skill. They try to introduce a logical direction for the skills. For instance, if one skill is a heal, then the stem from that heal is most likely a stronger heal. So in some cases, you have an idea about what skill you're getting, but in other times you have no idea. The game features customization, and at the same time restricts it in a way. After every level, you'll also regain all your hit points and magic points, which is often your saving grace. You'll find yourself strategizing your potions around your character's leveling. You level at a pretty quick pace through the game, so you'll become equally reliant on both potions and levels. Unlike some RPGs, this is not a random encounter game. As you walk around the world, you'll have the opportunity to see monsters walking around on the map. If you walk in the monster's field of vision, they'll chase you. Up until the second half of the game, they will all outrun you, and you'll be forced to fight almost every encounter. The monsters that chase you look the exact same. They are all the same monster sprite. This little goblin orc-looking thing. One of the things I find interesting is towards the end of the game, you'll be surrounded by a variety of monster sprites, not just the same sprite, which makes me wonder, what was so hard to include that in the rest of the game? The enemies you do fight mainly stick to melee attacks with an occasional poison or elemental spell. Because of this, most of the game requires no real strategy. Most of the game's big decisions are based off of how much mana does your character have left, and how close are you to your level. All the dungeons, mountains, caverns, and undergrounds become extremely repetitious. The tile set in a dungeons are just copy and pasted over and over. They try to confuse you about your position in the dungeon, and you'll find yourself wandering around for an hour trying to figure out which door is the right door to go through. This makes a lot of places frustrating. When you finally reach the boss, you'll be saying, "Finally!" out loud to yourself. They even throw a 30-floor tower at the end, just to make sure you're still having fun. Then, since the developers are exceptionally creative and diverse in this game, they reverse that same tower to go down instead of up for an optional side quest at the end. The loading times in this game are pretty quick. They're all about 1 to 2 seconds long. The problem? Well, they're so short because you have a loading time everywhere you walk. The areas in the game are so small and so short that even a town with 2 or 3 buildings is split up into 4 or 5 areas. It actually reminds me of Legends of Zelda for the Super Nintendo, where you have really tiny screens, where you would run to the end of the screen, transition into the next screen, run to the end of the screen, and then transition to the next screen. At first, I was really glad at how useful gold was in the game. My problem with a lot of games is that if you grind for a while, you can purchase pretty much anything you want, or buy 99 cents and never run out. This game doesn't do that. They make weapons and items incredibly expensive, so even if you grind for 2 hours, you still have to prioritize which weapon you want to buy, or how many potions or tints you think you need. The first 3/4 of the game, the economy is quite balanced, and as you're reaching the last quarter of the game, everything is overpriced, and it takes hours and hours to purchase upgrades for your characters. Now, I won't ruin any of the story for you, but the end is not a conclusion, it's a to be continued until the next sequel comes out. Because of that, the end is extremely anticlimactic, and you'll be sitting there thinking, I can't believe I just spent 30 hours of my life and nothing in this game got resolved. There are a lot of shortcomings in this game that prevent it from being exceptional. There is a lack of variety in enemy sprites, lack of tactical elements in battles, small imbalancing of the economy, mediocre story, repetitious dungeon crawling, and a very anticlimactic ending. But if you're a hardcore RPG fan who's played every RPG on the PlayStation and Super Nintendo, I recommend this traditional lighthearted RPG. If you're a fan who was introduced to RPGs through Mass Effect and Borderlands, this game will probably bore you to death. Since I am an old-style RPG fan, I did have a slight appreciation for this game. Although not perfect, I give it a moderate 7.5 out of 10.